Now let's move on to our next keynote speaker, Liam, who will tell us more about Chainlink and RWAs. Welcome to the stage. Clap your hands, guys. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Test. Perfect. Hey everyone, thanks for showing up. I lead tokenization for us at Chainlink, so I would like to start by thanking Sonic for inviting me to allow me to speak about Chainlink. What is our role in the crypto space, specifically in RWAs, tokenization? What is tokenization? What is our role? How do we enable the shift of traditional finance into traditional finance? So I'm going to talk about four things actually today. First, sort of general state of the Oracle markets. What are oracles? What role does Chainlink play in the Oracle space? Second, we're going to see what RWAs are. Why is everyone talking about RWAs? What are stablecoins? Why is this topic so hot? Third, we're going to talk about interoperability and why interoperability is such an important topic today and what problems does interoperability solve. And again, the role of Chainlink. And we're going to finish on Chainlink runtime environment, which is the next frontier and the next evolution of what Chainlink is building and what Chainlink is giving back to builders. So I'm very proud to say that Chainlink is the #1 Oracle platform in use across all of Web3. And what that really means is that for any of us here using DeFi and blockchain to save, trade, lend, borrow, collateralize, settle, we're all using Chainlink without even necessarily realizing it. Chainlink today secures 65% of the total value secured by general purpose oracles. That means we work with the largest protocols in the world, like Aave, Spark, GMX, and all sorts of different issuers as well as applications. Here's the Chainlink platform. And the way to think about Chainlink is we're providing builders with a platform of services in order for them to build on Web3 and integrate seamlessly different applications and assets. And we really divide these services into 4 main areas. The data standard, for which we're mostly known for, i.e. audio price and asset on chain, data feeds, data streams, and smart data for RWAs. The interoperability standard, i.e. how do you bridge, how do you make assets and information seamlessly flow from one network to the other. And then the compliance and the privacy standards, which are basically more tailored for the needs of traditional finance. If you look at the top left of that chart here, you see some of the financial institutions that chose Chainlink in order to bridge the gap from their legacy systems to Web3 and decentralized finance. And these two last categories, compliance and privacy, really cater to their needs. What we're talking about here is traditional finance and their extremely complex systems willing to invest and participate in the Web3 ecosystem on the left-hand side of the chart into major applications like Aave and others. And in order to do that, they need to rely on existing processes, compliance standards, international jurisdictions, and that's why Chainlink is focused on serving the needs of crypto-native Web3 applications, as well as very traditional, heavily regulated traditional finance enterprises. So speaking of our data products, here's a chart to explain at a high level how Chainlink works. So what you have is different assets being traded on various exchanges, whether centralized or decentralized. You then have different data aggregators whose role is to basically publish data points, and then this is when Chainlink comes in. Chainlink runs a decentralized Oracle network comprised of different node operators that each run their own decentralized Oracle network. The role of these node operators is to come to consensus on these data points given by data aggregators in order to publish highly reliable, highly trusted, highly secure data on chain for applications to be able to integrate assets and for investors to work in a protected environment. There's really 2 ways to publish data on chain. There's 2 models we use at Chainlink. Data feeds, which is a push-based model where effectively the Chainlink decentralized Oracle network fetches data from different data providers and pushes data at a regular interval for decentralized applications to be able to integrate these data points and create the use cases, i.e. lending and borrowing, perp dexes, and so on and so forth. The second way to put data on chain is through data streams, which is a pool-based model. This is more used in high-frequency, low-latency use cases, typically perp dexes, where applications are able to pull data on demand, on request, as opposed to pushing the data at a regular interval. Now, Chainlink for RWAs and stablecoins, which is a topic that is dear to my heart. That's the part I really focus on at Chainlink. And I would like to take a step back and talk about RWAs and why do we even talk about RWAs and stablecoin and why is it such a hot topic. The real reason is blockchain and DeFi is the first technology that is able to truly disrupt finance. What I mean by that is truly disrupt finance. Finance is a hundreds-year-old industry that has never been disrupted. Some have tried, fintech has tried to disrupt finance, and they've improved user experience, they've improved user interface, they've reduced settlement time, but they're still built on the same legacy rails that traditional finance is using. Blockchain and DeFi, through disintermediation of trust, 24/7 settlement, and automation via smart contracts, has the potential and is truly disrupting finance. So on this chart, you can see the total value of global capital markets. And in that blue box, what you can see in white is basically the size of DeFi, tokenized RWAs, including stablecoins, and cryptocurrency. And what that chart really shows us is that however big crypto and DeFi is today, and however big our industry is, it's a drop in the ocean of global capital markets. And one day, all of it is going to be tokenized. And it's not going to be tokenized because it's making nice press releases or it's innovative to do so. It's going to be tokenized because this infrastructure is fundamentally better than traditional finance. We see three mega trends right now in on-chain finance. Settlement and payments, we're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars of value transferred using blockchain for remittances, payments, settlements. Tokenization, BCG expects $16 trillion of assets being tokenized in the next 4 years. Again, a reminder that $16 trillion is still 4x the crypto market cap, but still a drop in the ocean of total capital markets. And then obviously stablecoins and digital money. Now here's a simple chart that I like, and it shows what's going on right now in RWAs. We have traditional finance companies that are willing to tokenize assets, funds, cash, commodities, you name it, in order to put them on chain. And the reason why they want to do that is because they believe that the on-chain representation of the asset that lives off-chain is a better version than the off-chain version. Giving you a concrete example. Traditional bank tokenizes gold. I, as an investor, can hold gold off-chain, and I can hold it in a vault, and I can wait for the price of gold to appreciate or depreciate based on different macroeconomic factors. Or I can actually invest in the tokenized representation of that gold. If I do that, I effectively am exposed to a better version of gold, because now with that gold, I can potentially borrow against it. I can borrow stablecoins, and I can buy more gold with it, or I can invest the stablecoins into a higher yielding strategy. What I've effectively done is I've unlocked capital, and I've created from a non-productive assets or productive assets on which I can actually generate yield. Now the problem is there's still two versions of the asset, the on-chain version and the off-chain version. As an investor, want to know that if I invest in the on-chain version, whatever I invest in is actually backed by the off-chain asset. Whatever I invest in actually tracks the real value of that asset. And I don't want to use the logo or the reputation of the brand. I actually want the cryptographic truth of that asset's collateralization and value. This is where Chainlink comes in. We bridge the gap between traditional finance and on-chain finance. Now, a little look back at the industry and sort of where we come from. The first smart contracts were really simple smart contracts, simple transactions. I have an asset, you have another one. As soon as you receive my asset, I receive yours. A simple transaction. The second step is actually DeFi smart contracts. That's when we saw the rise of on-chain finance, on-chain lending, Aave, and other protocols. Now you actually have to account for pricing, loan-to-value, risk, integrations, etc. I think the stage at which we are right now is cross-chain DeFi. where we see more and more ecosystems, more and more chains, all very successful in bringing massive liquidity on their networks. And that again requires a bit more complexity in the way we build smart contracts, because you want an asset to be able to go from one network to the other. Now, the fourth part here, probably the most interesting one, is institutional workflows. Again, I look back at global capital markets, and I see the amount of capital that is going to enter Web3. This amount of capital is not going to come easily, because institutional finance doesn't work with the same boundaries as crypto finance and crypto flows. It comes with regulation, compliance, laws, interjurisdictional use cases, and that's what we're preparing for. We're preparing the Web3 industry to be able to receive these massive amounts of capital coming from institutions. So here's a visual representation of what I mean when I say Chainlink bridges the gap. What happens is you effectively have a bunch of off-chain data points, net asset value, pricing, proof of reserve data, risk ratings, and so on and so forth. You then have the Chainlink decentralized Oracle network be able to actually fetch these off-chain data points, put it on-chain, on any chain, to allow asset issuers to integrate in the largest lending protocols, such as, again, Aave and other lending markets or perp dexes, whatever the use case is. In terms of number, these are some of the numbers that Chainlink have processed. So we're talking more than $25 trillion of transaction enabled on-chain. We're talking more than 100 billion of total value secured as of September 25. We're talking more than 2,000 companies trusting Chainlink, and more than 18 billion of messages published on-chain. All of that secured by Chainlink for the past 7 years. CCIP. So again, talking about interoperability. If the goal of RWA is actually to bring liquidity to private markets in markets that are typically illiquid, then we should not recreate silos. And we see emergence of new chains, at this point almost every week, EVM, non-EVM, public permissioned, private, etc., etc. The last thing we want to do here is recreate silos that don't communicate with one another. And so that's why we came up with CCIP. Now, the challenge with cross-chain technology and bridging technology is that we all know, some of us might have PTSD from some of these news here. This is one of the most critical parts of blockchain. So the industry lost more than $2.8 billion in bridging hacks. Remember the Ronin hack, the Wormhole hack, all pretty large hacks, usually in the ranges of hundreds of millions of dollars lost. So that's why when we built CCIP, security was at the core of the way we built CCIP. And CCIP is built on what we call level 5 security. So there's different levels to security when you do bridging. You have centralized bridging, which should be a no-go for anyone building in the space. You have decentralization theater, where you effectively have teams that promise decentralization but really rely on a set of keys or multisigs. You have hub and spoke model, where you have a network being able to process transaction. And then you have level 4 security. Level 4 is an environment that is secure by multiple networks, fully decentralized. That's the level of security we have for Chainlink data products that has been in production and used in the last 6 years. To build CCIP, we added one level of security on top of the extremely well secured Chainlink infrastructure, where we added a committing decentralized Oracle network, an executing decentralized Oracle network, and on top of that, a risk management network, which are built in a different language to ensure maximum security. So that's a lot of words and a lot of diagrams, all to say CCIP is built on maximum level of security. And the reason is, again, institutions will not be able to rely on the same trust and security assumptions as more Web3 native companies can, and they will rely on extremely secure networks. Now, what's next? Chainlink runtime environment. We're going to announce a bunch of launch partners for the Chainlink runtime environment. And what the Chainlink runtime environment will do to the space is bigger than whatever Chainlink has already provided to the space. Right now, builders are still heavily reliant on Chainlink and Chainlink's pace of innovation in order to create applications and workflows and data products, compliance product, identity products. The Chainlink runtime environment will allow builders to build their own customized workflows in a self-serve manner while relying on Chainlink's trust assumptions and Chainlink battle-tested infrastructure. That means customizable and programmable workflows, get any data point, create any logic that you want, integrate seamlessly into the protocols that rely today on Chainlink infrastructure, i.e. 65% of DeFi across all networks, and deploy in a safe and reliable way. So the call to action here is that anyone building on Sonic, anyone building in the space, should welcome to talk to Chainlink, should welcome to read our documentation, should know that we are very committed to the Web3 space and that we're building towards creating a more safe and better environment. And I'm very happy to talk to anyone that is interested to learn more about our services, specifically when it comes to RWA and stablecoins. Thank you.